The impossible ship, the EU's Horizonte Silid, as it approached the massive S-structure, floating in the void between stars. Captain Aaron stood on the bridge arms crossed, watching the alien station row. Larger on the main view screen, it resembled a massive snowflake made off-gleaming metal and crystalline material stellicate. Looking but spanning nearly 15 km across, comes our picking up a transmission Captain Lieutenant Ree.
Multiple frequencies.
Different encoding patterns there. Trying to figure out how to talk to us, Chen nodded. Send the first contact package on all frequencies. Let's see if our linguist work pays off. Humanity had been watching station for nearly a decade, a massive construction project occurring in what they had thought was unclaimed space. The decision to make contact had been controversial, but ultimate a line of idle humanity had expanded to 3-star systems, and sooner or later the would have been noticed. Better to introduce yourself than be discovered. Chun fought. Captain Nave acknowledged receipt of our package. Rice a deciment, bleeding into his professional tone. Translation algorithm, sir. Analyzing their response now. The bridge crew fell silent as the alien communication was processed. Chen Felther. Heart race. Humanity's first official contact with an extraterrestrial civilizes. Ation was happening on her watch. Translation complete. The AI announced it on fitness level 73%. Text scrolled across the screen. Unidentified vessel maintain position. Representist of the Galactic Coalition will establish communication. Procos do not approach further. Friendly. Commander Jackson, her ex-muttered chin shrugged cautious. I'd Beatty same in their position. She turned to Ray as acknowledge and comply. Maintain position. At 1 light minute distant hours later, Chen sat across from Thorellian beings in the Horizons conference room. The Coalition had sent a delegation. A small shuttle, a gesture that Stabothener diplomatic protocol and allowed them to inspect the human vessel up close. The aliens were remarkably diverse. The parent leader, who introduced himself as High Arbiter Vox Nera, resembled a tall humanoid with iridescent blue skin and 4 arms. His companion, science director Tazeri, had the appearance of an upright feline with mottled fur and vertical pupils. Thethard security commander Dre was a massive reptilian being with armored scales and eyes that seemed to miss nothing. Your vessel's design is unusual, Vox Nera, said his translator Devis, rendering his speech into perfect English. Our scans indicate propulsion to technoli that should not be possible for an emerging civilization. Chen smiled diplomatically. The Horizon is our most advanced exploration vessel. We're quite proud of her capabilities. Your propulsion system appears to utilize in a matter annihilation. Tyr ejected her eyes wide. Our scans must sped. An error, no error, Chen replied. Horizon is powered by a 3rd-generation antimatter reactor with variable geometry magnetic containment fields. The 3 aliens exchanged lances that transcended species differences. Universal expressions off shock and disbelief. Antimatter technology is classified as Tier 3 technology under Coalition protocols. Dre rumbled. No species has successfully deployed stable antimatter drives without first achieving planetary uniation and passing through at least 2 centuries of controlled fusion development. Chen tried not to let Herp ride. Show 2. Obviously humanity has always been in a hurry to reach the stars. Science Director Dazar's whisker switched rapidly. This isn't precedented. The containment challenge us alone. May we inspect your engineering section? Of course, Chen said, standing. Our chief engineer Dr. Ibarra would bet alighted. Ed to explain our systems to tour of the Horizon's engineering section seemed to simultaneously fascinate, terrify the alien delegation. Dr. Mira Ibarra, with barely contained enthusiasm, led them through the ship's massive antimatter production and containment systems, the breakthrough. When we stopped trying to perfect static containment fields, Abarak explained, displaying holograph crop roast and of the ship's core, and instead we developed a dynamic self-correcting field matrix that adapts stow microscopic fluctuations in theontomotor stream, but the computation electrons for real-time field adjustments at that scale. Taser trail off, clearly calculating the processing power needed. Yes, that was a challenge, Ibarra admitted with a grin. We had developed specialized quantum processors dedicated solely to containment field management. They operate independently on the main ship systems as a safety precaution. Security commander Dre had remained silent during most of the tour, but Now he spoke directly to Chen. Your species handles the most dangerous substance in the universe with remarkable casualness. Captain Chen considered this. I wouldn't call it casualness. Commander, we respect the anger, but humanity has always pushed boundaries, especially when they're told something is impossible and the risks stray pressed. A containment failure would vaporize this vessel instantly. We've had failures. Chen acknowledged soberly. The Jakarta station disaster claimed over 300 lives 15 years ago, but we learned, improved, and continued forward. Vox Nero, untroubled in coalition. Space Sucha disaster would have ended anti-motorige for generations. That's not how we operate, Chen replied, simple later, as the alien delegation. Preparado returned to their shuttle. High Arbiter Vox Nara pulled Chen aside. Captain, I must be candid. Your arrival with this technology has created a significant political situation. The Coalition Council will need to convene an emergency session. Chen frowned. We commend peace, Arbiter. We're explorers, not conquerors. I believe your intentions, Voxa said, his forehead hands making a complex gesture that her translator did interpret. But you must understand, an untonator technology in the hands of a non-unified species represents an unprecedented situation. Some council members will view humanity as a destabilizing threat because we developed technology out of the approved sequence tuned. Asked, not hiding her skepticism, partially Vox Nara admit, but also because your willingness to accept such catastrophic risks suggests a mindset that some will find concerning. No coalition species would have a continued antimatter research after suffering casualties like those you described. Different evolutionary paths, different risk calculations, Chen replied with, had to overcome significant challenge on our world it shaped. Our approach to problems. Vox Nara studied her with alien eyes that somehow conveyed perfect understanding. Indeed, in that is precisely what will frighten them. After the delegation departed, Chen called an emergency meeting with her senior staff. So, Commander Jackson said after she relayed the conversation, we've managed to terrify an interstellar coalition of advanced species simply by showing up with our engine running. Rie laughed. If they're scared of our propulsion system, let's hope they never learn about the quantum tunneling experiments back home. Chen silenced them with a raised hand. This isn't a joke. The Arbiter strongly implied that some coalition factions might consider humanity a threat that needs to be managed. Managed how, Security Chief Ortai's instantly alert. Unknown, Chen replied, but I'm accelerating our first contact protocols. Lieutenant Race, prepare. Data package for immediate transmits to Earth include everything we've learned about the coalition and flag it as urgent. You think they might try to restrict our movements? Jackson asked. Chen stared at the viewpoint, whereas alien station glittered in the distance. I think humanity just crashed every established party with technology that, by their standards, we shouldn't have. For another century, they're going to want to understand how that happened, and sure it doesn't upset their power balance. What's our play, Captain? Ortiz asked. Chen straightened her unit form. We continue as planned, diplomatic, transstern, but firm. We didn't fight our way to the stars to be told where we can and can't go. She smiled slightly and wecuitly bring the rest of the exploration fleet to standby alert just in case. 2 days later, the coalition Cerasponus arrived in the form of a massive vessel that dwarfed the horizon. It dropped out of what appeared to be a localized fold in space-time and FTL technology unlike anything humanity had developed that's substantial. Jackson commented as they watched the behemoth approach. Chen nodded. Seems we've received a visit from the higher-ups. The message that followed confirmed her suspicion. An official coalition evaluation team would be boarding the horizon to conduct a species capability assessment. They want to figure out if we're a threat or, to translate it, or an opportunity. Chen Camplets make sure they see both the paradigm shift. The coalition evaluation team consisted of 12 representatives from different species, each with specializations ranging from technology assessment to cultural analysis. Their leader, Grand Evaluator Zen Lux, resembled a tall, slender humanoid with skin that shifted colors with her moods currently of cautious amber. We'll appreciate your cooperation, Captain, Chench said as they convened in the Horizon's largest conference room. This assessment will help determine humanity's proper integration path in Teth Galactic Community. Chen noted the choruful wording. We look forward to peaceful relations. Evolutor, however, I should clarify that humanity determines its own path. A ripple of color, deep red, passed across Ganon Locke's skin before settling back Toe Amber, of course, nevertheless, their established protocols for emerging species evaluations began. Immediately, TeamSoft aliens scrutinized the Horizon systems, interviewed crew members, and Earth's transmitted history and cultural databases. Chen assigned senior officers to accompany each group both as guides and to ensure they didn't access classified systems. Commander Jackson found Chen in her ready room after the first day, looking exhausted. They're thorough, I'll give them that impression. Just makes the technology specialist team genuinely impressed. 40% until repairs can be completed. Secondary systems offline, no casualties. Well done, everyone. Chen said, feeling a profound pride in her crew. She had become aware that the Coalition reprise were staring at her and the human bridge crew with expressions thought transcended species differentiating, like AI, you risk your vessel. And all aboard Craxus, stated Tosavi beings you've never met. From species not your own, as I said, Chen replied. Simply that's what humanity does. 3 days later, after emergency repairs had stabilized the Verizon systems, Shenhua summoned to a communication with Thefel Coalition. Council, the massive view screen in the conference room, displayed representant. From 27 different posies with Grand Evaluator, Genlock's prominently featured Captain Alara. Chench began formally, her skin a ceremonial purple. The Council has reviewed all data regarding humanity's first contact and subsequent actions during the station crisis. Chin waited standing tall despite. Exhaustion from the grueling repair schedule, your willingness to risk your vessel to save Coalition.
Ice.
Lives has been at a Genlocks continued, as has the effect ISs of your antimatter technola even. Under extreme conditions, the Horizon performed exactly as designed, Chen replied. Though I wouldn't recommend our emergency measures a standard procedure, a ripple of what might have been laughter moved through some of the council members. The Coalition has revised its assessment of humanity, Genlocks announced. While your species' approach to technological development remains unconventional, your actions demonstrate a level of responsivity that cannot be ignored. Thank you, Evaluator, Chen said, cautiously through 4. The Council has voted to offer humanity full provisional membership in the Galactic Coalition with all associated benefits and responsibilities. Chun couldn't hide her surprise. That's generous ever, however, as I've stated before. Not authorized to accept on behalf of Earth Zen Lukes. Finish will understand this is merely the formal extension of the offer. Your leaders may consider it at their discretion. In the matter of Arunomatter technology, Chen asked directly. Another council member, a being with features resembling an aquatic mammal, spoke up. The Technology Exchange Commit has proposed a new classification for Humanitan Sequentel Innovators. Your specialists will be permitted to maintain your existing technologies, provided you establish appropriate safety protocols, conjunction with Coalition Advisor SNAT controllers. Genlocks clarify quickly. Advisors Chen nodded slowly. I believe Earth will find that. Arrangemenic stall. There is one additional matter. Craxus said, its crystalline form glinting in the light. The Security Council requests that humanity consider sharing its antimatter containment field technology. Your approach has advantages over existing Coalition methods. Chen smiled. I believe it. I can be arranged as part of a mutual technology exchange. Earth has much to learn from the Coalition as well. After the communication ended, Commander Jackson joined Chen at the viewport where they watched Coalition ships building their damage station. So Jackson said, we terrify them with our Eclipse technology, save a few thousand of them from certain death using SAID technology. End up being invited to join their club and share our technological insights. Not bad for first contact. Chen agreed. What happens now? Chen watched the distant work cruise beings from a dozen different species scooperating on the reconstruction efforts. Now humanity takes its place in a much larger community, she said. We'll teach them about taking calculated risks and pushing boundaries, and hopefully they'll teach us about building consensus and planning for the long term. Jackson smiled. Think they're ready for us. Chen thought about the fierce scene in Alien Eyes when they first understood humanity's technological ability. The awe she'd witnessed said, when they saw what humans were willing to risk for strangers. No, she said honestly, but neither was Earth ready forth. Stars, sometimes you have to take the leap anyway. Jackson asked with a re-smile. Chen considered the question serious. Lie historically, probably not, but necessity's innovation in Earth was running out of time. Climate crisis. Resource depletion. We needed the stars, and conventional propulsion wouldn't get us there fast enough, so we rolled the Dizian antimatter, Jackson concluded, and Wenshan added on the third day. Chen was summoned to meet privately with Grand Evaluators Locke and the Coalition Serity Administrator, a massive entity named Craxus, who appeared to be composed of interlocking crystalline structures. Captain Ganon Lukes began her skin of formal blue weave, completed or preliminary assessment. Chen waited, maintaining a neutral expression. Your antimatter technology is remarkable, Ganox continued. However, our consensus is that its continued use by an unregulated species presents an acceptable risks to regional stability. Unregulated. Chen repatted carefully the crystalline Security Administra voice resonated from somewhere within its structure. Humanity is not established unified planetary governance. Captain, you maintain competing nation states, ideological blocks, and independent corporate entities, all with access to antimatter technola. That diversity drives our innovation. Chin countered it. Al-Secret's unpredictability. Cracks assassinated the coalition. Cannot permit restricted antimatter-capable Veselsto operate in shared space without Profrotiev. There it was, the restriction vox. Nara had hinted at what sort of oversight are you proposing, Cheniske? Keeping her voice level. A reasonable arrangement, Genlock said, her skin shifting to a conciliatory. Green Coalition inspector aboard all human vessels using antimatter propulsion, restrict travel corridors, technology sharing. Agreements that would give humanity access to safer alternatives in exchange for us abandoning our primary propulsion technology. Chin concluded. Fourth, greater security of all species. Crax is added. Chin considered her response carefully. I'm not authorized to negotiate technology restrictions on behalf of Earth. However, I can tell you that humanity won't accept external control over technologies we've developed independently. This isn't a negotiation. Captain K. Rex's said, its crystalline structure hardening. Visibilithis is a security requirement. Before Chun could respond, alarms blared throughout the ship. She tapped her unit. Chun here. What's happening, Captain? We're detecting a massive energy surge from the Coalition station. Lieutenant Ree has reported some kind of spatial distortion is forming, and it's growing rapidly on my way, Chen said, standing. You'll excuse me, Valiator. It seems we have a situation on the bridge. The view screen showed a swirling vortex of energy expanding from a Coalition station. Analysis, Chen demanded. It appears to be an uncontrolled spatial rift, Science officer. Lai reported, consistent with a catastrophic failure in whatever drive system they use for FTL travel. The station is broadcasting emergency designations. Rise added there. Evacuating, but the rift is expanding faster. Thanthier shuttles can escape its influence. Turned to find Zlok and Craxus had followed her to the bridge. What's happening to your station? Zen Lockskin had ped to a sickly white primary fold space. Generator collapse. The containment fields must have failed. Can it be stabilized? Chen asked. Not once cascade failure begins. Craxus replied, its crystalline form vibrating with what might, I'll bet, have been agitation. The rift will continue expanding until it consumes everything within 3 light minutes. Chen processed this information rapidly, including the horizon and all evacuation vessels. Correct. Genlock's confirmed Wayhave protocols for this scenario authorized. Ship will attempt to reach minimum safe distance. Others, she didn't finish the sentence. There are thousands of beings on that station. Chen said they can't all evacuate in time. It is regrettable, Craxus stated, but containment failures carry consequences, is why we approach dangerous technologies with such caution. Chen ignored the pointed comment. Hermindra Singh threw options. She turned to Draybara, who had rushed to the bridge during the alert. Mara, could we use the antimatter reactor to generate a counter-resonance field, disrupt the rift's expansion? Long enough for the evacuation to complete. Abara was already running calculations on her tablet. Possibly would need to modify our containment fields to project outward instead of inward. Risky, but theoretically viable. That would require diverting power from your containment systems, Jinlox interjected her. Skin flashing alarm patterns. Eye fluor Antimatter containment fails, would vaporized instantly. Janelle. Keen Finishadel, along with everyone else if we done a thing. Begin preparations, Dr. Abercaptain, K. Rexus. Resonated sharply these action would violate at least 7 coalition. Safety protocols. Chen Ternetto, the crystalline being your safety protocols won't matter much if that. Reef consumed your station, and everyone on a administrator were willing to take the risk. Why, Genlox asked. Genuine Elizold. This isn't your station, these surrender people. Chen held the alien's gaze because we can help, so we will. It's what humanity does the next hour was a blur of frantic activity. The horizon moved dangerously. Close to the expanding rift, phing itself between Thevenomenon and the evacuation routes. Drabara and her engineering team work head of miracles, reconfiguring the antimatter to project a stabilizing field that would hopefully slow the rift's expansion. Field projectors ready, Captain Aber reported, but I have to warn you, this will strain our containment systems. It's 92% of theoretical maximum. Any higher end we risk our own catastrophic. Fehlerunders Chen said proceed. The Horizona shuddered as massive amounts of energy were diverted from its power system Ciento, the experimental field projector Sin. The view screen they watched as invisible forces clashed the destructive expansions of the spatial rift, meeting desperate human countermeasure. It's working. Lai reported, amazement in his voice. The rift's expansion rate has decreased by 67%. Evacuation status. Chen asked coalition vessels are clearing the danger zone. Rise reported estimated 12 minutes until all ships are at safe distance containment field status. Chen asked Ibarra, the engineer's face, wastens holding at 94%. Above recommended maximum, we've got microfractures forming in the field matrix. Can we hold for 12 minutes? Aber met her gaze. We'll make it hold. Captain Chun noticed Zen Lukes and Kraxus conferring urgently in the corner of Thay Bridge. The Grand Evaluator approached her, skin cycling through multiple colors. Your ship is in grave danger, Captain. Ornolysis suggests your containment fields cannot withstand this strain. Then your analysis doesn't account for human determination, Evaluator. Chen replied, not taking her eyes off the status. Displaced minutes crawled by as the horizontrum bowled under the strain. Warning. Alerts flashed across multiple systems. Twice Ibarra had to implement emergency field adjustments to prevent Continentalapes. Evacuation complete. Rise finally announce all coalition vessels report clear of the danger zone. Disengage field projectors. Chen ordered immediately return to standard content configuration. The horizon systems began powering down from emergency levels. The view screen show it's spatial rift now expanding unimpeded Ajin, but with the station evacuated and all ships at safe distance. Get us out off here. Lieutenant Park Chin ordered maximum sustainable thrust. The Horizono accelerated away from the danger, pushing its strained systems to their limits one final time as they reached safe distance. Finally allowed herself to relax. Lightly damaged repertantimator containment systems showing significant stress. Fractures, Aber reported, will need to reduce output too.